Hello everyone. Today, I'm back with another chapter of the story about the single mother, Dieu. I hope you enjoy this video. The reunion with her father after so many years apart made Han's heart feel young again. From the moment he held her hand and whispered, "It's me. It's your father, my girl." All the hurt, all the wandering years of searching melted into the gentle brown current of the river outside the house. In the days that followed, the little wooden house by the small canal seemed to breathe a different kind of warmth. Every morning, sunlight slipped through the nipa palm leaves, scattering gold across the wooden bench where Tan was reshaping the broken handle of a hoe for Mr. Hoa. The steady tapping of his chisel blended with the soft sound of the water retreating outside. In the kitchen, Han moved about, the fire crackling under the clay stove, the smell of braised fish and turmeric filling the air. Sometimes she peeked out through the door and saw her father talking with Tan, a sight that filled her with a warmth she could hardly explain. The two most important men in her life were beginning to understand each other more each day. At first, her father was cautious, but the more he watched, the more he came to appreciate Tan. The young man never hesitated with hard work, massaged Han's shoulders when she was tired, and cared for little Tom as if he were his own child. One afternoon, while the two were mending an old fishing net, Mr. Hoa paused, voice low, thanking Tan for being by his daughter's side so she wouldn't suffer alone. Tan grew flustered but replied honestly. He loved Han and hoped to stay with her for a long time. Mr. Hoa didn't say much, only nodded, but in his eyes were relief, gratitude, and 100 unspoken worries. Day by day, the little family grew warmer, yet inside each of them, tangled emotions also began to form. Her father gently expressed more than once that he wished Han would stay here with him. He was old now. Having his daughter and grandson by his side was the peace he longed for. Han stood still every time he said it, her heart heavy. The evening breeze carried the scent of mud and river water, but inside her, everything felt stuck. She wanted to stay, to make up for the lost years, for all the lonely days her father endured hauling water, gathering vegetables, living with illness and silence. The thought made her chest tighten. But if she stayed, what about Tan? She didn't want to hurt anyone, nor did she want to sacrifice the love that had only just begun to bloom. Tan stood in the doorway, hearing those words from her father. His chest felt tight. Ever since he followed Han to the Mekong Delta, he had tried his best not to interfere with the fragile reunion of her family. He woke early to chop wood, fix leaks in the roof, take Han to the market by boat. But the words "stay here with your father, my child," felt like a blade slicing through his hopes. If Han stayed, what would become of them? Would the tender love between them still have a future? That night, the oil lamp cast Han's shadow across the wall. She washed dishes with trembling hands, her father repeating the same question, asking if she could stay and live with him. Han bit her lip, unable to speak. Behind her, Tan stood silently, frozen. She turned around, eyes rimmed red. She said she loved her father deeply but couldn't decide yet. She was afraid someone would be hurt no matter what she chose. Her father sighed. He said he wouldn't force her, only hoped she would find happiness. Han leaned into his shoulder. Tan stepped out to the porch, unable to bear the weight in his chest. The thin crescent moon hung above the cajeput trees, pale and uncertain, just like the way he felt. He stared at the ripples on the dark water, his hands clenched until his knuckles turned white. One question echoed inside him, one he didn't dare speak aloud. If you choose to stay, will there still be a place for me in your life? And just when all three were lost in thoughts with no answers, life in the quiet Mekong Delta suddenly took a sharp turn. That day, the sky grew dim, gray clouds stretching low over the nipa palms. Han's father was teaching the neighborhood children, something he loved doing whenever he could, partly to help them, partly to fill his lonely heart. But in the middle of the lesson, his chest tightened sharply. A stabbing pain shot through him. He grabbed the table to steady himself, face paling. The children froze, confused. Then he collapsed to the ground, gasping before losing consciousness. Shouts erupted across the village. Adults rushed in, lifting him up, faces drained of color. A motorboat was called, and within minutes they were racing to the district hospital. Someone quickly called Han. She was hanging laundry when her phone vibrated non-stop. The moment she answered, the terrified voice from the other end made her blood run cold. "Hun, your father, he collapsed." We're taking him to the hospital. Her knees gave out. The shirt in her hand slipped onto the ground. Her breath hitched, palms turning icy. The father she had only just found, the man she had barely begun to care for, was now somewhere between life and death. She stumbled inside, eyes red, searching for Tan. But before she could speak, he had already heard and rushed toward her, gripping her shoulders. Han, what happened? Tell me slowly. She choked out through trembling lips. My father, he fainted. They're taking him to the hospital. Without hesitation, Tan grabbed the keys to the borrowed motorbike. He held her hand firmly. Come. I'm taking you there right now. They sped along the narrow dirt road beside the canal. The wind whipped against them. Han clung to his shirt, her hands shaking, heart breaking with every thundering beat of the engine. Tan checked the mirror, seeing the tears in her eyes. He gripped the handlebars tighter, trying to steady himself. He was terrified too, but he knew he had to be her strength. It's going to be okay, your father will be fine. Don't be scared. Tan, I'm terrified. What if something happens to him? No, I won't let that happen. Trust me. He didn't know if it was true, but he poured every ounce of determination into his voice. At the hospital, Han nearly leapt off the bike and ran straight into the emergency ward. Tan followed closely behind her, never leaving her side. The antiseptic smell, the sharp voices of nurses, the clatter of carts, everything made her panic more. My father, where is he? Where is he? She cried. A doctor approached, calm but serious. He just arrived. We're checking his heart and blood pressure. Please stay calm. Han nodded, but tears streamed uncontrollably. She hugged herself, trembling. Tan stood behind her and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. He didn't say a word, but his presence became the only anchor she had in that cold, terrifying hallway. The door of the emergency room opened. A middle-aged doctor stepped out, his expression heavy as though he carried the weight of the entire gloomy sky with him. He removed his glasses, pressed the bridge of his nose, then looked at Tan and Han standing there in breathless anxiety. The stark white light of the hospital hallway reflected on their pale faces, highlighting the tension thickening the air. Han stepped forward, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her heart pounded so violently she could barely breathe. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled like a thin thread on the verge of snapping. Doctor, how is my father? The doctor looked at her for a long moment, a look that told her everything before he even said a word. He let out a quiet sigh, but somehow that small sound shook the entire hallway. We ran very thorough tests. He has a malignant tumor. And at this point, the disease is already in its final stage. A suffocating silence fell. In that instant, the footsteps and chatter of others walking by faded into something distant and hollow. The hallway stretched endlessly before Han, white, cold and empty. Her lips trembled uncontrollably, but no sound came out. The doctor continued, each word falling like a blade. The cancer has metastasized to multiple organs. We can manage the pain, keep him conscious, but intensive treatment time is very limited. The chance of recovery is almost non-existent. A tear slipped onto the back of her hand without her realizing it. She didn't sob. She simply stood there, as if someone had drained all the life out of her. Tan, beside her, felt his heart twist painfully. He reached out, wanting to hold her but hesitated, afraid that even the slightest touch would make her collapse. Han tried to speak, but her throat constricted like someone was crushing it. My father, final stage, is that true? The doctor gave a slow, solemn nod, and at that moment Han's world dropped into a void. Her heart felt torn apart. Everything around her spun. Han. Stay with me, Han. Tan exclaimed, panic rising in his voice. But she no longer heard anything. Her vision darkened. Everything blurred like thick fog. Her legs buckled. Tan lunged forward, but still half a second too late. Han collapsed into his arms like a fragile branch snapping under a storm. Her name tore from his throat, full of fear. Han. Oh God, Han. He gathered her into his arms, trembling violently. She felt frighteningly light, like someone who had lost all warmth. Cold sweat soaked his back. Doctor! She fainted. Please help. Nurses rushed over. A gurney wheeled up swiftly. Tan carefully placed her on it, his hand still gripping hers. They hurried her into a secondary emergency room. The door shut before him. Tan stood in the hallway, breathing heavily as if he had run miles without an end. He stared through the frosted glass where Han lay motionless under the cold, blinding white light. He stepped back, slumped into a chair. His hands clutched his head, fingers digging in. His chest ached as if someone were crushing it with a stone. After a while, the doctor returned. Tan looked up, lips dry, voice hoarse. "Doctor, how long does Han's father have left?" The doctor paused, then slowly shook his head. "No one can say for sure. Could be a few months, or less, but certainly not much time." The word struck him like another blow to the chest. He leaned back against the wall, his eyes red but unable to cry. He thought of the days Han smiled beside her father, the way her eyes shone when the old man told stories from the past, and now that happiness she had just touched was slipping away again. Tan clenched his fists and whispered as if praying, "Heavens, please don't take away the person she just found again. Please." The quiet hallway stretched before him, the dim lights casting a long, lonely shadow beneath his feet, a shadow filled with pain. Meanwhile, inside the small room, Han lay motionless, her face pale as if fading into the sheets, her breathing shallow, her eyelashes trembling like someone trapped in a nightmare with no escape. An hour later, she stirred faintly. Her lashes fluttered, slowly opening. The harsh white light stung her eyes, and the moment she realized she was in the emergency room, memory struck her like a crashing wave. Where's my father?" Her voice was dry, hoarse, almost unrecognizable. Tan immediately leaned closer, his eyes still swollen with worry. "Han, you're awake. Take it slow, let me help you sit up." But Han heard nothing except her own frantic heartbeat and the image of her father fighting for his life. She pushed herself upright, so abruptly she nearly fell off the bed. "My father, where is he? I need to see him." Tan quickly steadied her. "I'll take you. Just move slowly, you just fainted." Han nodded once, fast, desperate, terrified of losing another second. Her hand clutched Tana's shirt, her legs wobbling beneath her. He supported her down the hallway, each step filled with tension and fear. When they reached the room, Han rushed inside before the door fully opened. She froze at the bedside. The strong, gentle man she had reunited with just days ago now lay there. His face pale, his breathing fragile, each rise and fall of his chest weak and uneven. He looked like someone holding on to life with only the thinnest thread. Her throat constricted. "Dad!" The word slipped out, trembling like a sob. She dropped to her knees beside him, taking his rough, sun-darkened hand in both of hers. The moment her fingers touched his skin, tears spilled down her cheeks in heavy drops. She bowed her head, shoulders shaking uncontrollably. "Dad, why did it become like this? I haven't done anything for you yet. I haven't repaid you. I haven't even lived beside you for more than a few days." She gripped his hand as if letting go meant losing him forever. "Dad, if only I had found you sooner. If only I had stayed with you longer. If only I hadn't been too late." She cried until her voice broke, hot tears falling onto his hand as if trying to warm it back to life. But he only breathed softly, eyes closed, his face etched with exhaustion, the look of someone who had endured illness for far too long. Behind her, Tan stood frozen, his heart twisting painfully. He had never seen Han break like this, never seen her so fragile. He stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Han, I'm here. You have me." But she shook her head, choked with sobs. No one understands. I just found him. And now, I'm about to lose him again." Her voice cracked, each word shattering like glass. Tan knelt beside her, wrapping his arms carefully around her trembling shoulders. He didn't speak much, knowing that any words might feel empty right now. He simply held her, letting her cry, letting her fragile heart rest against him. "No matter what happens, I'll be here. I won't let you face this pain alone." Han collapsed into his chest, her tears soaking into his shirt. She sobbed like a child lost in a storm, and Tan held her tighter, even though he himself was breaking inside. He gently stroked her back, whispering through his own trembling, "Han, don't blame yourself. No one knew he was sick. You did everything you could. I know you did. but she couldn't hear anything fully. Her mind was filled with just one image. The father she had only just found, now lying there, fragile as morning mist. She squeezed his hand tighter, as if trying to pull time backward. Tan stood beside her, eyes glistening. He hurt for her father, but even more for Han, the woman he loved, shattering piece by piece before him. And in that cold hospital room, only the sound of Han's muffled sobs and her father's weak breaths filled the air, heavy and heartbreaking enough to make every breath feel like pain. After some time receiving care and medication, Han's father slowly began to show signs of waking. His breathing was still slow but more even. The pallor in his face softened. When he finally opened his eyes, the light from the ceiling reflected in them, tired but still carrying that familiar, gentle warmth. Han almost jumped up from her chair, gripping his hand tightly. "Dad, you're awake. Can you hear me? How are you feeling?" Mr. Hoa tried to form a faint smile. His thin, bony hand struggled to lift and touch her cheek, but his eyes lit up with happiness at the sight of his daughter sitting by his side. "Han, don't worry. I'm all right. Just being able to see you like this is enough to make me happy." His voice was hoarse, fragile like a strand of thread, yet every word sank deeply into Han's heart. She bowed her head, tears spilling again, dropping onto his hand. "Dad, why didn't you tell me? Why did you hide your illness from me? Why did you endure everything alone?" Han choked out, her voice breaking. Her father took a slow breath, looking at her with a mixture of love and regret. "I knew. I've known something was wrong with my body for a long time. No one understands it better than I do. But I was afraid, if the treatment failed, I would never get the chance to see you again. There was only one thing left I wanted to do, and that was to wait for you to come back." He paused there, his labored breathing making his chest rise and fall. "I've lived with this illness all this time. I didn't want to waste my chance to see you again, to hear you call me Dad even just one more time." Han broke down, clutching his hand like it was the last thread of hope. "Dad, if I had known sooner, if I had found you earlier, maybe you could have been treated. Maybe things wouldn't have gotten this bad." Her father's trembling hand reached up to wipe her tears, a gentle smile appearing on his gaunt face. "No, don't blame yourself. Everyone has their own fate, their own path to walk. I don't resent anything. To me, finding you again is already more than I could ever ask for. But I want you to keep fighting. I want you to live longer." Han sobbed, her eyes red and swollen, as if they had never truly dried. Mr. Hoa looked deep into his daughter's eyes and took her hand, placing it over his chest. "My girl, I know my own strength. Continuing treatment now would just waste effort and only make you worry more. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm only afraid I won't live long enough to see you truly happy." Those words cut straight into her heart. She burst into harder sobs, wrapping her arms around him, her shoulders shaking as if she wished she could take all his pain onto herself. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry for leaving you alone for so long. I'm sorry for not being here to care for you sooner." He stroked her hair, his voice soft like the last light of day. "Don't apologize anymore. I don't blame you for anything. You coming back to me is the greatest happiness of my life. All I wish is that from now on you live joyfully, peacefully. Then I can leave with no regrets." In the corner of the room, Tan stood silently watching the two of them embrace. His eyes burned, but he fought to keep the tears from falling. He had never seen anything that hurt as much as this. A frail father using the last of his strength to comfort his daughter, when he was the one who needed comforting most. Tan walked over and gently placed a hand on Han's shoulder, his voice low and sincere. "Han, you're not alone. I'll be here with you. I'll stay and take care of your father with you, until the very last moment if it comes to that." Han turned to look at him, her eyes swollen and red, but there was a small glimmer inside them, a deep gratitude for the man who had quietly stood by her through the hardest moments. Her father looked at the two of them, then smiled, a weak but deeply content smile. "With you by her side, and with you here, Tan, I can rest easy." Those words were like a blessing, a final trust, a last hope he wanted to place in their hands. And in that cold, white hospital room, 3 wounded hearts sat together, holding tightly to one another's hands, as if trying to hold back the flow of time that was slipping away too fast. The next morning, when the first sunlight slipped through the hospital window, Han's father opened his eyes, noticeably more alert. He looked around the cold, white room, then turned to Han, who had fallen asleep with her head resting beside his bed, her eyes still swollen from crying all night. He called softly, "Han, my girl. Wake up." Han startled awake. When she saw him looking at her with that gentle, strangely peaceful gaze, she panicked, thinking he was in pain. But he shook his head. "Today, I want to leave the hospital." Han's voice trembled with fear. "Dad, you can't. The doctor said you need more monitoring, more medication, more tests." But Mr. Hoa only smiled. A soft, heartbreaking smile. "Han, I know my body. Don't try to fool me, and don't lie to yourself. I don't want to spend what's left of my life in this cold room. I want to go home with you and Tom. I want to see the sea, hear the waves, watch you two smile. I don't want to waste another day here." Han bit her lip, her hands trembling. "But I'm scared. I'm scared of losing you. I'm scared of..." Her father placed his hand on hers, his eyes calm in a way that made her chest ache. "My girl, everyone has a final stretch in their journey. But I'm luckier than most, because in my last stretch I have you." Han couldn't speak. Tears fell again, but this time she didn't argue. She understood. Her father had made his decision, and she didn't want his final days to be spent fighting machines and needles. Tan stood quietly nearby, watching the two. He knew this was the hardest choice for Han, but also the most peaceful one for her father. He gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "I'll help you. Let's take him home together." And so they began the discharge process. When they wheeled her father out of the hospital doors, the gentle western breeze brushed past them, carrying the familiar scent of sunlight and fields. Mr. Hoa inhaled deeply, as if trying to take in the entire world at once. "All right, let's go home." The motorbike moved slowly along the dirt road, flanked by rows of nipa palms rustling in the wind. When they reached the little wooden house by the canal, her father smiled, a calm, indescribably peaceful smile. "My home is still the place I want to return to most." From that day forward, Han cared for her father in every small way. She cooked his favorite dishes, fixed his pillows, massaged him when he was in pain, adjusted the roof so it wouldn't leak. Every night she sat beside him and listened to stories she had never heard before. Pieces of his life she had missed for years. But the strangest thing was, her father never once complained. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't bitter. He simply accepted everything with a peace that softened the air around him. He would say, "Han, I'm not afraid of dying. I only regret the years I didn't get to spend with you. So now, I just want to do the things I love. Will you do them with me?" And so, the days that followed became the most beautiful days the three of them never expected they would have. In the afternoons, they would sit by the canal and fish. Her father sat on the bamboo bench with his old fishing rod, smiling under the warm golden light. Han leaned her head on his shoulder. Tan sat across from them, pretending to focus on the fishing float, but really just trying to memorize every single moment. One day, her father craved bon dieu. The three of them ground the batter, washed the vegetables, grilled the meat. Han poured the batter, smooth and skillful, while Tan fumbled so badly that the pancake stuck all over the pan, making both father and daughter burst into laughter. Another day, when the weather was perfect, her father wanted to see the sea, the one he used to bring Han's mother to when they were young. Tan borrowed a bike and took them all to the nearest beach. Her father sat on the sand, staring at the waves, letting the wind ruffle his silver hair. Han sat beside him, holding his hand the whole time. Tan stood a bit behind them, watching quietly, afraid to blink, knowing every passing second was precious. On some nights, they ate dinner under the warm glow of an oil lamp. Her father told old stories, his voice low and soothing, carrying them back to the days of riverboats and drifting lives. Han laughed, cried, then laughed again. Tan noticed the sparkle in her father's eyes. A simple, pure joy that words couldn't capture. Those days were quiet, but filled with so much love that time itself seemed to slow down. And Tan, the man who had followed Han to the Mekong Delta only out of worry, had become a true part of their little family. He did everything he could to give her father warm, peaceful moments, because he knew that someday when grief returned, Han would need these memories to hold on to. He knew he couldn't save her father, but he could help him smile in his final days. And he did it with all his heart.
Xin chào mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video của mình. Mình hy vọng rằng những video của mình sẽ mang đến niềm vui cho mọi người và mình cũng chúc mọi người có một ngày mới vui vẻ và hạnh phúc. Video hôm nay kể về câu chuyện của người mẹ đơn thân Diệu Hân. Sau khi Diệu Hân tìm được cha của mình thì một biến cố nhỏ đã xảy ra khiến Hân rơi vào trong đau buồn và cực khổ. Liệu rằng sẽ có một tia hy vọng nào cho Hân hay không? Mọi người đón xem ở video tiếp theo nha. Và mình hy vọng rằng mọi người sẽ cùng cầu nguyện cho cha của Diệu Hân có thể dùng phép màu nào đó để kéo dài thời gian sống của mình, được ở cạnh con gái Diệu Hân của mình. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay của mình. Hy vọng rằng sẽ gặp mọi người ở video lần sau. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại mọi người nhé.